And we will open up this week with Mahogany, because he has a leadership decision to make. Here's the problem. When you get back to the gymnasium, having gone up to the armory with your small group of ciphers, helping Nath to take the armory with as little loss of life as possible. And again, just making your way back to the gymnasium, coming either through, whether you go through the bazaar or through the hive, the streets are just not safe. Way fewer harmonium patrols out and about, simply because so much of their manpower is currently used up taking control of the armory and keeping the ladies' wards safe. Lots of people are, especially in the bazaar, taking the opportunity to just engage in some good old-fashioned looting and petty crime. And there are faction skirmishes bursting all over the place. Everything's been just this heated simmer for many years, and now it's all boiling over. To put broad strokes to it, you've got the Harmonium, Sons of Mercy, the Sensates, Governors, Signers, and Godsmen on one side. And you've got Indepts, Anarchists, Doomguard, Chaos Men, and Sod Killers on the other side. When you get returned to the gymnasium, they've done what you asked. They've secured as much of a perimeter as possible, but it's not much. You guys, there's not a lot of military power here.
Right.
But there's a lot of arguing and bickering happening inside of the gymnasium, because now ciphers who are out of town and returning are starting to see what's going on. And it seems like everybody in the ciphers has a story about some great injustice done that they witnessed to close friends of other factions. The ciphers are kind of unique as a faction, and they don't really have allies or enemies. Everybody kind of gets along with the ciphers. And a lot of ciphers are having difficulty with that right now, because everybody's got a story. This side's the bad side. No, this side's the bad side. And a lot of tension and bickering right now. And a lot of anger directed at faction high-ups who are simply not in evidence.
Yeah.
And that's when you and your little cadre arrive.
All right, so after getting the gist of what you just told me, this is what I think we should do. We are not on either side. We are on the side of Sigil. That means that if there's an injustice going on, that people should, since we now have a little bit more manpower, it's pointless to try to take as much of the city as we can. That's not what we do. We're not people who hold things. What we should do is get together groups, maybe 4 to 5 ciphers, send them out, and if they see an injustice happening, we put an end to it. Doesn't matter which side it's happening to. People should know that if they're going to be attacking helpless people in this city, there might be a cipher patrol coming.
Make a charisma persuasion check.
Whatever, I just got back my belief points. What else am I going to spend them on?
If not charisma checks, I don't know what.
Exactly.
Charisma saving throws.
Saving throws for cowards. No, automatic success.
Okay. Burning up the 4 belief points.
I don't give a shit.
A lot of ciphers are very receptive to your message. For good reason, because that's basically what most ciphers want to see for Sigil anyway. The problem is, right now, there's a lot of disagreement over what's best for Sigil. For example, when you say what we need to do is stop injustice for the good of Sigil, if we see it, half of the group says, that's great, we need to take down these Harmonium patrols that are overstepping their bounds, and the other group saying, that's great, we need to take down these Chaos Men who are starting fires.
Right, we need to do both.
And are you setting to work organizing these groups?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want these groups to be wearing cipher colors? Or do you want them to just be...
At this point, I think we have to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
because we are going out to take out specific objectives. Like, this injustice happened, we're going to put an end to it. And it needs to be clear who's doing so.
Make an influence check with your faction.
Alright.
I should probably open up an XP table here so you guys can get blips and stuff.
What?
You're right. I don't need to do that.
That's a 10.
A 10 after the bonuses?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I don't remember what... Do I add my proficiency?
You make the check. You have 15 influence, so make the check as though you have an ability score of 15, which is plus.
Okay, so that's
2.
a 9 then.
Okay, and you can
plus.
And your proficiency bonus.
Okay, so 14.
Okay. So yeah, you managed to organize some groups that do this exact thing, and you managed to do it in such a way that you try to keep the most volatile aspects of the ciphers kind of in check. You make sure not to pair the guys who want to thump hardheads with the guys who want to thump anarchists, and you make sure that you identify the cooler heads, the ones who are more like you, who want to just walk a middle path. And you get some suggestions. These people, they have contacts in the sensates and signers, especially, that they think might aid in this. However, none of them really have the political clout to go make the introductions.
Okay. So the sensates and the ciphers are on the same side?
The sensates officially are on the side of the Harmonium. But what they're saying is there are members of the faction that they know are more like you. They'd rather not take a side and just stand for Sigil. The signers and the sensates both.
Then I think we should put together a meeting. By which I mean I think we should go out and do a meeting because we're the ciphers.
Okay. And I forget, did you also make the gymnasium available for people who are escaping the fighting?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, there are already a good number of sensates, signers, and no small number of fated as well, who are looking to escape the fighting.
When the fated come in, I poll each of them asking for contacts and resources that they can put to our aid in protecting them.
Make an insight check.
Essentially, like, they don't want to get things for free? Great, then they can give us something. That's a 17.
17. These are low-level members of the Fated, and they all do insist on paying some kind of something to the gymnasium. These are low-level members, and you can tell that they don't know a lot about the situation at the Hall of Records, but here's what you glean. Darkwood has been amassing a lot of military strength in the Hall of Records. He has a lot of armaments. He had a lot of which came from his relationship with Nylesia that you knew about. But the Fated have stayed out of the fighting. They're not on his side. And what strikes you as strange is that these low-level members of the Fated, the clerks and the janitors and whatnot, why are they taking refuge here and not on the Hall of Records grounds, which is considerably larger and more welcoming to their faction?
Okay. So, can I just say that I want to press them on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the few of the Fated that have come over, the reason they've come is because they think Darkwood is about to join the fighting in a big way, and the rank and file of the faction don't know what side he's going to come down on, and they're frightened.
Okay.
They don't want to be impressed into fighting Hardheads or Doomguard. That's not... These guys, they push a pencil for a living.
I take the information that I just got from these guys, that there's a large number of Fated that don't want to join a side and want a third option, and I send that information right over the ring to Kelian.
Okay.
I knew that was coming.
Kelian, you've seen firsthand over the several months that Darkwood had been amassing more strength in the Hall of Records. Some of the clerks that you knew who lived on the grounds, their quarters were actually seized and given over as barracks. That didn't happen to you because you had a nice house that I don't think you have anymore. But yeah, you get that information from Mahogany.
I need to think now.
Okay. Well, you can think, because I'm going to go to Nath next.
All right.
Nath was going to the gatehouse. Was Liberation going with him? I forget. Or had...
What was Nath going to the gatehouse for?
Nath was going to the gatehouse because he wants to make sure that Harmonium efforts in Sigil include providing supplies to anybody who is displaced by the fighting. As a PR thing, if nothing else, the Harmonium need to be seen as a peacekeeping force and not just shock troops.
Where is the gatehouse?
Going to return to the foundry.
Gatehouse is in the lower ward, I believe. I don't know where. Oh, it's no, that's the mortuary. Is that? It might be this. No, it's this here, the Madhouse District.
Oh, there.
That's the gatehouse.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
So it's in the Hive. It's not a great place to go. And you also have members of your own faction that share your opinion on this and who are going to go and help facilitate dealing with the Bleakers. Again, the problem, though, that you run into is a lot of the manpower right now is being directed at the armory, and there's not a lot at your disposal. Plus, there's a little bit of chaos filtering down through the rank and file because Saren was poisoned.
It's kind of hard to keep something like that under wraps.
The gatehouse is surprisingly chill when you arrive. It's mostly business as usual. I mean, business as usual for them is howling madness, but it's kind of a contained howling madness. So how do you go about facilitating this alliance? Is Nath on mute?
So, is there someone I can approach? Is there someone, like, at the front gate?
There's a reception area to the gatehouse that you... Oh, I forget. Were you playing Nath during the gatehouse adventure? Or was that still
Definitely
Serenity?
not.
No, okay.
No, it's still Serenity.
Make a perception check.
Okay. $20?
You've heard the rumors on the streets that Factal Cerusse has vanished, and that most of the Bleakers just don't care about it. But at the gatehouse, while you're waiting in the long line of just dispossessed and malnourished people looking to be seen to, you pick up on some Bleakers talking as though the Factal is still operating inside of the gatehouse. So there seems to be some confusion there. Do you try to push to the front of this line, or are you going to wait in it?
So it's, like, how long do I think the wait will be?
It's going to be a minute. Most of the
minute's
people...
fine. If it's not like if it's not multiple hours, that's fine. I'll wait.
Well, see, I meant minute as in multiple hours.
Oh.
Because a lot of people come to the gatehouse kind of daily because they hand out food and bread and such on the street. So there's a lot of people who have come in looking for their daily handout. There's a lot of people who have filtered in because of the fighting. And there's just this massive humanity kind of pressing up there. You might be able to...
I'll have my men stay at the back of the line, but I'll try and push forward myself.
Okay. Are you trying to
And I'll just say,
physically make your way forward, or are you trying to pull some rank?
pull some rank. I'm saying, look, official business for the Harmonium. I need to speak to someone. Don't worry, everyone here will get their bread.
Make an influence roll with your faction. I've got you down as 14 with the Harmonium.
Yep.
I've got Kelian down as 10 with the Sensates, and I have no idea how he managed that.
21.
21?
On the influence roll.
The person you speak to when you say that you're here on official Harmonium business looks slightly relieved when you say that. And he says, we've gotten word that the Factal wants to receive all official faction business immediately. So he asks you to wait here, and he will get word to the Factal.
All right.
The Bleakers are doing their best to distribute the goods that they have, but they're not doing anything to quell any violence that erupts in this crowd. So standing there waiting for the next few minutes, you do see some outbursts of fighting, and you're in the middle of the hive, which isn't patrolled.
No, there's no. That's not happening. I'll immediately look to one of my men, just go over there, break it up non-violently.
Okay. I mean, non-violently is not going to happen, but they do it. They don't.
Well, like not. What I mean is, don't
Non-lethally.
stab someone. Like, just grab them, pull the two of them apart, physically restrain them. Don't do anything that. Don't start stabbing people for it. Basically.
And most of it, most of the fights are just verbal outbreaks that just come to blows, and you send your men in to go and just separate them. You don't want them taken into custody or dragged away or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
Make sure these people get fed. That'll be the best thing to stop fighting.
Okay. And looking out amongst the crowd, the majority of the crowd is just. I mean, you see a lot of just very tired, hungry people, but you also see some relief. Like, hey, it's nice that somebody's come in and has taken charge. And eventually the person comes back and tells you that the Factyl will see you, but perhaps you should be forewarned that he's still recovering.
I'll nod. Let them lead the way. I'll tell my men, just stay here. One of you get in line. Make sure that they understand what we're trying to do.
Okay. And the
rest of you just keep people from breaking out into fights.
I mean, they've already set to work, organizing the line into into separate files. Who here just needs food? Who needs they're doing their harmonium thing. What strikes you as immediately odd is he says that he referred to the Factyl as he. Factyl Struce is a woman. Which strikes you as strange. And eventually, get my gatehouse map, just in case,
I don't think Nath would know that, so it doesn't strike him as strange, but okay.
Oh. We haven't ever really established, how much of Sigil stuff does Nath pay attention to.
Little as possible.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a good answer.
Yeah, here's my gatehouse map. It's going to be sad when this campaign finally comes to a close and I don't have cause to use these maps anymore.
Have we gone to all of them yet?
I don't think so. I think there's a few you probably
See,
haven't seen.
there's a challenge for you, Brick. You got to give us reason to go to all of them.
We've never been to the mortuary.
Okay. So, he brings you into the Factyl's office here, which is labeled as Struce's office on the map. And going inside, there's probably 24 people crammed in here, all bleakers, kind of barking orders at this man who's sitting at this desk, and he's clearly overwhelmed. He looks woozy. He looks like he just woke up, and he's a very small minority in Sigil. He's an orc, and the only other orc that you think you know is Yashnar's. Riot hangs out with him. And you step in the room, and he sees your harmonium sigil, and he says, "Finally, some semblance of reason walks into my door. The rest of you be gone." And he waves all the other hangers-on out of the room to go back about their duties. The door to the room doesn't close. You just see broken hinges. It's just been removed.
Okay.
And he introduces himself as Lar, Factyl of the Bleak Cabal.
Oh, my name's Nath. I'm a lieutenant in the Harmonium.
He says he is very relieved that one of the factions has finally come to call. That he's, as far as he knows, he's the only Factyl left in Sigil, and only because of a technicality.
Yeah, everything I've received at the barracks basically it says the same. Everyone's missing or dead. What technicality, if you don't mind my curiosity?
Okay, I mean he explains that for the past 2 years or so he's been insane. It's a very common thing that Factyls of the Bleak Cabal go through. But that Struce, who was Factyl in his absence while he was convalescing, and they probably have Factal's cell, like a really posh back in the back of the gatehouse somewhere where they can just go and Factal Struce just vanished one morning. He does not yet know. He's not received any word of Saren's killing. Most of Sigil still has not heard that. But yeah, he says he doesn't know how long until the lady figures out her mistake and comes to correct it. So he's trying to get as much work done as he can for the poor and dispossessed of Sigil before he fucks off.
Well, that's excellent. That's exactly why I'm here to talk to you. I'm interested in getting as much relief. So we're going to start sending patrols to try and restore some semblance of order through the streets. And I would prefer to bring to all of Sigil. The hive is probably the part that needs it most, from my understanding.
He scoffs and he says that would be a first.
I'm not from this city. I don't particularly like the way it's run. I'm using this as an opportunity to improve it. So I would like to bring Elite Cabal members and food and supplies to various people who've been dispossessed during the fighting. Actually, prevent them from just seeing the Harmonium as people in there to thump heads and bark orders. We want to make sure that they understand that we're trying to help them.
And you see, just all of the relief just leaves out of him in a Kelian caliber sigh. And he says, "You want me to devote Cabal resources to making your faction look better?"
I want you to devote resources to helping the people of Sigil, just the same that I'm doing. We can provide extra support, hopefully, in bringing food in or whatever you need.
He says if you can provide him 300 men, he would be able to... he might be able to quell the tide of people entering the hive from other areas of Sigil. Whether or not that would improve anything, you'd have to be some kind of Burke to believe that. But he's willing to take any resources or aid that you give him, but he has none to offer in return.
Alright. How do you bring food into this city, anyway? You can't grow anything here.
He says, portals. Nothing grows, there's no water source, nobody keeps livestock. Everything comes in through the doors.
And you have large kitchens for your charity work?
He says he doesn't know about large or particularly clean, but dirt in the bread keeps the bashers fed.
Well, I might be able to work with you to some degree on transferring food in as well.
He says...
To me, I think that might be one of the higher priorities.
So you're going to organize bringing food in from outside?
Yeah.
Okay. He does tell you of one particular soup kitchen that seems incredibly well financed. Once he came back just
They
one
might be
out
doing
of the
some sort of smuggling.
1 out of the 100. He suspects that. Whatever illegal trade he's doing, he wishes the other soup kitchens would step it up. What he can do is make available some information regarding some of these portals. And it's not the good stuff. These are not portals to Arborean orchards or anything. A lot of lower planar gates, but things where consistently drinkable water can be brought in, as well as edible food and some other minor supplies. He has nothing to offer except the information. It's going to be up to you to put together the logistics of making use of these portals.
Okay.
He says he hopes that you have exceptionally deep pockets.
When do you usually pay for things?
They don't. The Bleakers take cast-offs from people around the plains. They get stale bread. Water isn't that expensive, but they manage to bring that in. They take the things that people will give them.
Okay.
So a lot of mold, a lot of rot, a lot of bug-eaten food, but it keeps people with full bellies.
All right, I'll get back to my headquarters and see what I can do.
And you turn to leave. And one of the other Bleakers, not one of the ones you saw in the room a minute ago, but he steps back in, looks right through you as though you're not there, and he says, Factual, the old man is clamoring again. He's asking if he's received any visitors. And the Factual, they have a short conversation. The Factual tells him no. He keeps saying the same names. And then this man names your companions. Riot, Kelian, Serenity, Mahogany, the other guy. Only visitors to see him in hundreds of years. And in her last days as Factual, Sroos became very interested in this particular prisoner. And that's the exchange you hear when you're on your way out the door.
Interesting.
So what resources are you able, if any, to put to use? Making use of these portals, bringing in moldy bread?
Well, my thoughts are to head back to the armory, and again, my thought is what's left of it, let's just loot it. Let's take whatever coin we can get, use that to buy food.
Okay.
And then buy as much wholesale grain. I mean, I can cast mounts and discs and teleports. If portals aren't near areas that are convenient, I can plane shift. Like, basically, that's my thought, is I can transport a lot of stuff personally over about 24 hours.
Okay.
If I have a bunch of people that can just do the heavy lifting, I can teleport as much grain as 7 people can carry.
All right. We'll come back to that when you get started.
There's one other thing I'm going to do, though.
Sure.
I'm going to do a sending to Mahogany to let him know about that conversation I overheard.
Okay. So yeah, Mahogany, you receive a sending.
Yep, and I'll relay it to Kelian.
Kelian at the moment... Oh, I have it in my notes here. Liberation was with Kelian and Riot at the temple. Okay. You guys were at the temple. And a Chaos Man showed up with 6 Factual Qurans.
Riot immediately casts Mirror Image.
And
feeling out.
All 6 of the Qurans immediately start bickering. That's a cheap trick. That's extremely shameless. How dare she? One of them's into it. The group of them kind of push their way into your temple as the leader, who's not a Quran, he's just a random Chaos Man, begins explaining the situation. He says, Factals are dropping like flies. We were able to get the Factal to safety, and the problem is that the Harmonium and the Sod Killers right now, who are on different sides of the conflict, both of them are cracking down on Chaos Men hard. Word is starting to get around that Quran is apparently not vanished, and these groups, are the evil Harmonium members and these Sod Killers, are trying to make a name for themselves to be the ones to bring in Factal Quran, the last Factal in Sigil, see if he's got any answers.
Riot shrugs a little bit and says, so quit the Chaos and join the Indepts.
And none of the Qurans like that idea. But he explains the real Factal is somewhere safe. These are duplicates, basically. These are body doubles that Quran has, for reasons completely separate from his personal safety.
Right. It's just fun to have, right?
Yeah.
He says that Quran, being the amicable gentleman that he is, has many friends all throughout safety. And that's when he reaches into his coat, and he pulls out a pair of reading glasses and a very small slip of paper, and he puts on the glasses, and he clears his throat, and he says, in Quran, the Factal named you as one of the potential caretakers for his duplicate, and I'm quoting, because she is the safest person I know. And then he rolls up the scroll and puts it in his glasses back in his pocket.
The safest.
So the guy's a little clingy.
What he's suggesting is that you take one of these body doubles, take charge of them, and in a day or two, when you receive word, make a very big show of escorting him across Sigil to a place that will be given to you. Hopefully this will attract enough attention from the various factions who are looking for him that the real Quran will be able to quietly scuttle out of a portal and get out of town.
Yeah. Riot looks over the various Qurans. Which one of them is the tallest?
They're all exactly the same height. They look identical.
Okay. Then she just picks one at random. Says, you. I'll take you.
And he claps his hands together, and the rest of them just their shoulders droop. Aww. What is Liberation and Kelian's response to this situation?
Kelian is pieced out. He wants to go talk to Cube and Eldov.
Okay. So they're upstairs in one of the rooms.
Kelian stayed upstairs. His crossbow was drawn because who knows who the hell comes into this church. But once he realizes it's just shenanigans, he pieces out.
Okay.
If Kelian goes upstairs, he's going to find all of his stuff like in a pile outside of his old room.
Is that the room that Eldov and Cube are in now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelian was going to get kicked out of that anyway, and that's why all of his stuff is there. But that's why we have a room to spare for Eldov for Eldov and Cube.
The church is still in Kelian's name, right?
I don't think Riot really understands how property works.
That's fine. That's fine.
So the Chaos Man thanks you for aiding the faction. And he says, kind of sincerely, kind of more sincerely than you would expect from a Chaos Man. He says that the faction will remember your kindness. And he takes the other 5 Qurans, who are still bickering amongst themselves, and leaves your temple.
Okay.
And you're left with one of the Qurans.
I'm going to ask him, what are you afraid of? Or who?
He looks around and then leans in. Clowns.
Yeah. No clowns here.
They're freaky. They got painted faces and the big squishy noses.
I also want to go see Eldov Cube though.
Okay. Are you bringing?
I'm probably a few. Huh?
Are you bringing Quran with you?
Yes. Got to make sure that this guy's safe.
Are you going up?
Liberation's
not
to
okay.
talk to Eldov and Cube, but he's going to instead talk to Izena, who's been kind of hanging around him now. But if you wanted to do that scene, then that's totally fine. Pick that up in a minute.
Izena is very cagey and evasive when you talk to her. Make an insight check real quick.
I think I know what this is already about, but I will make one regardless, because this is the suspicion that Liberation has.
Guarantee you don't know what this is about.
Oh, okay. Insight of 9.
Of 9. Yeah, she's very tight-lipped about why she came back to Sigil or why she's following you around. And she adamantly refuses to look you in the eyes. But she also adamantly refuses to be away from you.
So, you jumped a little bit when Lady Liger's name was dropped. Why is that?
And she explains that the Aaronese are particularly cruel amongst devils.
Mm.
This is known throughout the lower planes. And again, every time she gives you an answer, it just sounds like she's leaving something out. It sounds like she's being evasive.
Okay, if you're protecting secrets, then I don't want to be caught unawares by some angry Liberation just kind of he's looking for a word, a very disparaging word. So he'll just give a very foul name in an infernal.
And she winces when she hears the word.
and says, I have no love for my infernal blood, but Right now is not the time to be keeping secrets.
And she insists that she isn't. And she keeps reiterating that she will be no bother to you. She won't interfere with your work.
All right then. Come with me. I've got something. We're going to the foundry. I've got to make sure some people are all right.
Go to the foundry. Heading upstairs to speak with Eldov and Cube. Kelian, you interrupt a kind of hushed debate that the two are having, a conversation. Cube looks angry. Eldov just looks bemused. And I mean, you can tell the debate is about Eldov immediately wants to set to work, returning to the Relentless and regaining control of the hut. And he is full of ideas about things he can do. Old contacts he can tap, vast wells of sorcerous magic that he can use.
And I assume they clam up immediately when I enter?
More or less. I mean, you know what they were talking about, but... either Eldov does not quite grasp the gravity of the situation, or Cube is just being a stick in the mud. One of the two.
Well, Kelian says, I have saved your life twice now, and you don't even know about the second time, so maybe you should listen to your friend.
And Eldov kind of blows it off. Lots of people have saved my life.
That's fair.
He says, don't think I'm not grateful. It's just, it happens a lot.
Dude.
Yeah, but you got under...
I've died a couple times.
You have to understand, I'm not usually in the business of saving people. Usually it's the other way.
You're in the business of not saving people? And he looks over at Cube, and that seems rather rude, doesn't it?
I'm the business of murdering people. Usually I murder people.
And that's about when Riot and Karan come in the room. And Karan's eyes get real wide.
Don't you start, points at Karan.
Eldov's not impressed at all about the declaration that you murder people. Again, he seems to be a little bit detached from it all.
Yeah.
That's... Matt the player expects no less.
So we can do a few things for you, Eldov. If you want to go back to Trennis, we know the way, although I imagine you already know the way there. We can put you up here for a little while if you want to stay. But we need to know, what is this about that stone that you have?
And Eldov looks like he's thinking very hard. He says,
I deal... we know about the stone.
What do you all remember about the stone? When did you first learn about the stone?
We learned about it last Barmy. First Barmy, whatever.
Yeah, the oldest Barmy.
Thank you.
He was the first one who told us about it.
Yeah, he brought it up, and...
Did Kelian steal it, or was that just a dream Kelian had?
That was... Kelian wanted to steal it because I think Darkwood had it.
Yeah.
He was sure Darkwood had it. And that plan never came into fruition because we were busy rescuing Jade Bull.
Mm-hmm.
That came up in the meantime.
Okay. He says, that you'd have to kind of narrow it down. He's dealt with a lot of magic stones over the years. He's been in the business of crazy magic bullshit for a very long time, and most of that time,
we know.
What he's curious about is the nature of this man you mentioned, but he doesn't have a lot of information. Darkwood. You asked him, and he doesn't know who Darkwood is. If he knew something about that person, maybe if he could meet him and discuss it, maybe he'd be able to figure out what stone he wants.
Well, you can't meet him. He was mazed like an hour ago.
Wait,
So-
sorry?
Don't worry. You know, the lady's amazing. All the factals, whatever.
Did you see this happen?
Yeah, I didn't see her. She was nowhere to be found. But he cursed right before he vanished, saying, "Oh no, now it's not the wrong time or whatever," and poof. I mean, it's got to be the lady, right? Like, who else is going to do that?
It could have been some plan he'd set up in advance. It could have been Alicia. It could have been anything. Yeah, I mean, listen, Kelian.
Yeah,
I'm talking as somebody who has been summoned. It could have been anybody.
Yeah, but Darkwood is too meticulous, and this seemed sloppy by his standards. To purposefully it has to be the lady.
But you didn't see her.
No.
So it doesn't have to be the lady.
And Karan blurts out,
I feel
she sounds like no lady.
I mean, of all of us, we're the only two people who know and fear the lady. Who else, like, you really think that this is a Darkwood plot? Like, he's just going to mysteriously vanish? Like...
No, I don't think it's a Darkwood plot, but it sounds like I agree. It sounds like something somebody did to him. But if you didn't see the lady there, I don't think it was her.
And Eldov says this doesn't help him narrow it down much.
No, let's actually tell him what we know about Darkwood. Hey, you can start. You knew him best.
And he describes this old man with the scar in his eye and who loves amassing wealth and power for the sake of amassing wealth and power. Oh, he had a plan to overthrow the Lady of Pain, become the master ruler of Sigil.
Eldov says that sounds ridiculous.
I know.
Does sound ridiculous.
It sounds absolutely ridiculous.
To what end was this Duke amassing any sort of power? What was he putting his wealth and magic to use for?
He was a taker. I mean, you've been in Sigil before. You know what a taker is, right?
He doesn't really.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll explain the factions briefly.
Yeah.
In the most condescending, insulting terms.
So he's a thief.
Essentially.
No, that's not really true. I mean, okay, sometimes thievery happens, but really, when you think about it, we deserve it.
Takers are about acquisition for acquisition's sake. If you wanted Sigil, it was because Sigil was there, and it was big.
He says that, and he says this with no introspection or self-reflection whatsoever, that usually when powerful spellcasters especially have that kind of mindset, it doesn't end well for them. And he sounds concerned, like, this isn't something that would ever happen to me, obviously.
How did we find you in that hut? Never mind.
It sounds like it didn't end very well for him. Sounds like it ended with him being summoned or teleported somewhere.
Darkwood can't be summoned. He's a prime.
He also can't be summoned. He's in Sigil.
That's true. Eldov says that in the last days of their research together, he and Terran became very interested in what Terran called trapstones. Extremely powerful wizards, a few sorcerers. Sorcerers tend to do less research into their magic. But wizards, a couple of bards, and quite a lot of liches. And they learned about these during their foray into the Underdark. What ends up happening is these powerful wizards, as a contingency, because they fear death so much, as a contingency, they set it up to where, at a moment of their demise, if everything goes completely wrong, they would be put into a safe place. And sometimes the spell goes awry and creates what's called a trap stone, which is essentially a stone with this spirit of this wizard inside of it, unimaginable mortal power. Some people who have been studying for centuries, but it's impenetrable. They're never able to escape.
Wait a second. We can actually bring Eldov here to Darkwood.
You mean the Barmy?
Right. I mean, maybe that would jog something for him.
It might.
And Eldov is confused. He says, I thought you said that he had been mazed.
I never said that. I want to record. I never said that.
Right, the murderer said that.
Mm-hmm.
He's been mazed.
He's also here.
By the way, can I just say, Osprey is my favorite god. Big fan.
Right, Basil. Oh, thank you.
There's Eldov getting stuck in that hut that killed Osprey. Her biggest fan.
That was it.
He's also here as a very much older version of himself. Some kind of weird magic was involved.
Oh, he's a time traveler.
Something like that.
That's very interesting. I haven't gone myself, but I've always wanted to.
Well, we can take you to meet him.
Cube advises against that. Says it'd be better, because Cube has spent a lot of time erecting magical protections around this location to keep Eldov safe during the fighting. He asks if there's any way that the man can be brought here.
He's currently residing in a cell in a madhouse, so probably not. He's not really mobile.
And Eldov suggests you break him out very nonchalantly. Like, this is something that he's done a bunch of times.
Okay. Alright. I'll bring him here then.
Yeah, Zoot got captured by giants once. It was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is trivial, really. I'll go do it.
So your plan is to go into the gatehouse. Did you receive the information that Nath sent over the wire?
Kelian.
Mahogany got that.
You mean Mahogany to Kelian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the oldest Barmy is asking after all of this. Liberation doesn't know this, but...
Oh, that. No, sorry. I thought you were talking about the...
No, you do know that, Kelian, because I sent that to
Yeah,
you.
Mahogany
Yeah,
did
that. Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, who all's going to the gatehouse with Riot?
Kelian is.
Before we leave, Riot is going to go to Yashnar's and tell him I'm setting up. I'm going to put a refuge down in the lake level. If people show up needing refuge, lead them there. There'll be food and shelter for them.
Yashnars asks if that's wise.
How do you mean?
Better to hole up your defenses and save what resources we have for our own acolytes. Look after our own first.
I see what you mean. I'll put it on the outside of the building. You can direct them there.
Okay.
And, whenever possible, talk up Osprey. Make sure they know who it is that's giving them what they need.
All right. Very good. Mahogany and Nath, any interest in going on this gatehouse adventure?
Yeah, I'll come along. I love this terrible guy.
Wait, you guys are breaking him out of the gatehouse?
Yeah, because that's the thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I was going to go talk to Eldov when I had a free, which might not be for a few days.
This is all the same day we got back, right? Like almost no time has passed.
More than an entire day has passed at this point. Because, you guys have been traveling a lot back and forth across Sigil. You guys are going on probably 24 hours with no sleep at this point. Because you guys had time to come to Sigil, split up and go a bunch of different places, figure out what was going on. Some of you went back in the armory and setting up meetings. Like, you guys are starting to become very tired.
I'm very fast.
In fact, some of you will have to use an action at some point to level up if you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's just so much to do.
The nice thing about running the ciphers, though, is that I can just go do whatever. And I'm following the faction philosophy.
Mahogany.
Yeah.
In terms of resources, like monetary resources,
Yes.
or magical resources, I don't know what you have access to.
Yeah.
How much are you putting towards getting these signers and sensates on board? In terms of setting up infrastructure and finding these people and organizing them and setting up leadership among them.
Well, I've never been very good about husbanding my resources.
Right.
So pretty much whatever's at hand.
Okay.
And I'll probably at some point while everyone's making their cross-sigil trips, I'll go into the rat hole and steal some of those funds.
Okay. Nath, same question, except different outcome. How much of your resources, monetary or magical, are you bending towards locating these portals and setting up infrastructure and bringing goods through them?
I mean, again, I don't have personally much monetary resources, but I'll be spending all of my magic on it. And yeah, my opinion is we loot coin out of the armory. Not doing them any good.
Okay. That is 100% a no-go. It looks like Swan's Son and the Sons of Mercy have pretty much taken control of the armory. There's still a very strong Harmonium presence here, but the Harmonium are at a disadvantage. They don't have strong leadership the way the Sons of Mercy do. The opinion amongst your two factions are that the goods and armaments in the armory should be bent towards winning the war. They're expecting it to come to blows again, and if it does, they want to control the weapons. The weapons here, rather than selling them off for coin to purchase goods, are going to be used to arm more Harmonium troops.
Is it possible? Is there any amount of money I can get from the faction itself for this work?
None. Right now, all of their resources are focused on the fighting. You definitely get the sense that the Harmonium that you took out to the gatehouse, the little splinter group that you have, is a minority inside of the faction.
Yeah, well then it's just my own resources and manpower. I don't actually have any money I can spend, I guess.
Okay.
Because I personally don't have any money. Like, I think I have enough to re-up on spell components, and that's about it.
Hey, Destil.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how much of the money in the rat hole is Mahogany's.
Uh-huh.
Guess how much gold I'm going to take out of the rat hole?
How much?
2,000.
Okay.
So...
Oh, you know what? Oh, no, wait, never mind. My notes say I have 1,800 gold in the rat hole. Let's use that.
Is everybody working through the night? As far as...
No, I need a rest to cast spells so I can do the magic thing.
Okay, so you're
Once
gonna
I start going through these portals.
You're gonna go and start taking resource out of the rat hole tomorrow morning?
Yep.
Mahogany, are you resting tonight?